Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 84 of Build Your Stash and Craft. This week we are going to make stencil stamps, and we made some small stamps out of our fun foam, and these are going to be larger stamps, and they are going to be you're going to be able to use them for stencils and for stamps. So we've got this shelf liner and it comes in a few pieces, but you don't really need much at all. And I'm just going to cut some off. This is probably maybe 3 or 4 inches wide. And I'm going to just cut it into a square. And we're just going to make our shapes. So to start with, we'll take that square and fold it again. And then we'll fold it again. And then we'll cut it into a flower, just the way that we would cut paper flowers. So I'm just going to come down here. And you can cut these any shape. You can cut lots of different shapes. And if you don't like cutting your own shapes, you can go ahead, and we have the cookie cutters that we bought when we made our little jelly plates, and you can just trace around these right on there. Just use your permanent marker or any kind of a pen, trace around them, and then cut those out. So you can have those for shapes. You don't have to make your own shape. But so here is a little like star flower, and we can let's make a heart. So just fold it again and just cut a heart shape. Now these are nice because you can make them any size that you want to. So I was kind of looking to have some big stamps, and then I was watching somebody doing some texture with one of the rug ones that we all use to do texture, and I thought, oh, and they said, oh, shelf liner, you can use that too. And I thought, I think shelf liner would be thin enough to use as a stencil so that you can actually stencil through it, and then use it for a stamp also. Let's see what else. We could do a leaf. I'll just fold this in half this way. I have to turn it like this. Okay, so I'm going to just cut a little stem at the bottom and then just cut a leaf shape. You can also go out in your yard if you have like maple trees or oak trees, find a nice big leaf that you like and just bring it in and trace around it. So there we go. There is a leaf and a heart and a flower. You can make any shape that you want to. You can make circles and squares and do it any way you want to. And then you can use it like a stamp. So you can just press it onto your acrylic block or your little acrylic frame that we bought, and I'm going to flip this over. Just get some ink on it, and let me grab a piece of paper here. Press it down on your paper. I think I got more ink on the block than on the stamp. I did. Maybe we need to move it over a little bit. Well, my hands are a mess, so I'm just going to do it this way. And then put it on here. Oops, I moved it too. And then just press it down. Now if you want to, you can also use your brayer to press it down. The brayers that we made for our jelly plates. I should put a book under here so I've got a solid surface because my box isn't very hard. And so there we go. There is our leaf stencil. And then you can draw around that, doodle in it, do any sort of thing that you'd like to. So you can also use them with your sprays. But before we go to that, let me just tell you, all of my ink pads were dried up because I had not used them. And so I wanted to show you how I brought them back to life. And they were all perfectly dry. And so what I did was, see, this is our purple, and I've got nothing other than all of the, because I redid all the other ones. I've got those colors all over my hand, but there's no color on this whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is on the back side, I am going to take some of the hand sanitizer that we made it with, and I am just going to refresh it. Now you just want a little bit all over because it soaks right in. So you can't put on a great big amount in one spot and move it around. It doesn't really like to move around very well. So just go ahead and put it all over your stamp. I'm getting a little too much there, I think. Okay, and then just use, you know, some kind of a room card or something, a plastic card, or anything that you have. You can use a spoon to rub it in. You can, you know, just use a piece of cardboard to rub it in, but you just want to work that right down through that sponge, right down to the other side. And now it will work better if you let it sit for a little while. Like I just redid all these and they're working. But if I let it sit so that everything really does kind of soak through. But here is our pad that, let me do the other side, that did not have any color on it whatsoever, and now we have a purple pad. So we really have a purple pad. Let's see. I'm going to wipe this off on something because I kind of don't want to waste it. And where'd my flower go? I'm not sure if this is the flower I just cut or the flower that I cut before, but I'm just going to put that on there. Pick it up, put it on my paper. Now you can wear gloves when you do this. You can put it on the acrylic block and make sure that you tap it on better, but there we go. There's our flower. Now these are great mixed media stamps. They're kind of like background stamps, texture stamps. They're not solid, like a solid stamp like we made with our others. So, and I didn't mean them to be. I wanted things for texture, for backgrounds, and so I just thought that this would be really cool since we always use this type of thing for texture. And you know, we take it and we just kind of dab it here and dab it there to get a little bit of texture. But I thought I really would kind of like to have an actual, you know, kind of shape to it. I think that would be kind of fun. So I've got some papers here and we're just going to use our sprays. Now I did unclog my sprays by taking the tops. I took the whole top part off and I soaked them in warm soapy water for about 15 minutes or so, and then I just left the stem part in the water and just pumped and pumped until it pumped through, and that did all of them except for the green. And I actually, when we started this, I had one that was I had one of the sprayers that did not work, so it must have been the green was the one that didn't work. So, but all I'm going to do is these are the sprays that we made. Now remember, there's a ball in the bottom. You shake them back and forth. Don't shake them up and down because the mica that settles on the bottom will go up into your stem if you shake it up and down. So just back and forth till it's all shook up. And then just go ahead. I do have a piece of paper that goes up back there so that I don't get spray everywhere. And then this is kind of curled up because it just came out of that where it was round. So I'm just going to turn it over so that it's flatter. And I'm just going to come from above and spray my paper. Okay. And then I'm going to pick this up. And there's our stencil heart. So it works as a stencil. And then you take that same heart that you just sprayed, flip it over, give it a press down, and now it's a stamped heart. And they are kind of missing places, the flower and this both, because my box is not solid. So, but that will make you won't have those gaps if you have a solid block. But when you're doing mixed media, those kind of things look good anyways. So let me see. So we did our flower and we did our heart and we did our leaf. Now other ways that you can do it, I'm going to take, this is one of our plastic sleeves that we got to hold things, but it's plastic. And I'm going to use it to put some paint on for a brayer. Because I like the way that paint, that you can brayer paint out on something that is plastic or slick like this. Also, you could use your jelly plate and just put some paint on your jelly plate and roll it out for your brayer. But so you can just put some paint on there, and then you can stencil. Well, let's do plain white paper. You can use it as a stencil with a sponge. So what are we going to do here? Okay, so here's a flower. And so you can stencil through it with a sponge. Now the thing is that you have to hold it down well. It wants to kind of lift up and you don't want it to move. And this is also working kind of like a mask. With a stencil, you normally have extra fabric around that stencil, which makes it so that nothing on the outside shows up. With a mask, it just masks off one portion. But there we go. That's what it looks like there. And then we can just take this, and you can press it down, or you can brayer it down. And I can feel my box bending, so hopefully, oh, and that didn't do too well because it dried before we got there. Now you could take your brayer and get some paint on your brayer and brayer over it. It's sticking to the brayer, and then you can use that to get paint on it. And then press it down. And then you have the opposite. Instead of having the holes filled in, you have the lines showing. So I just think that these are really great. You can also use them to glue them onto projects to give yourself texture. I have this one here that I just glued it down with tacky glue, and it's on there really well. So now I can paint over that. I can put, modeling paste around it, but it makes a great texture. You can cut a shape so that you have what, the texture that you want in the background of a mixed media project. So those are all the different things that you can do with this. You can use it like to just pick up paint and then just put paint around on your mixed media projects like that. And you can get the whole thing covered and make a picture, or make that actual design by getting the whole thing covered. You can spray through it. You can paint through it with a sponge. You can use your inks and a sponge to go through it, but it makes great texture. I just love the way that they look. And this shows how well they actually can turn out. They really do make a great background, or they make a great stencil. So that is just the things that you can do with these. So that was short and sweet, but I just think that they're a blast to play with. I'm going to make a bunch of different shapes, and I'm going to save some to actually just glue onto my backgrounds and paint over them and use them for whatever it is that I want to use them for. This is just one that I cut out earlier. But and you can make all sorts of flowers. They might even really, like they would maybe make really pretty layers between your paper flowers. You cut your different paper flowers and then cut a couple of these and do a couple paper and one of these and a couple paper and one of these. And that would look really pretty too. I think that would give your flower wonderful texture. So that is what we've got here. I'll be back in just a minute to show you what we need for next week. Okay, one more quick tip that I forgot to tell you. If you don't want your extra paint going around the outside or your extra sprays going around the outside of your stencil, the way that you can make your own fabric to go around it is, I'm just going to do a heart real quick. So I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to take this piece of paper and I'm going to fold it in half. And then I'm just going to lay this right on top of here. Actually, let me see, I'm going to have to cut it this way. So I'm going to lay this right up on top of here and I'm going to line these up. Line the edges up well so that we wind up with the same shape. And then we're just going to come in and cut, holding it together. And you could tape this together too. Come up here and start at the top. Just like that. Okay. Now you can open this up and put it on whatever you want your color to go on. And then open this one up and put it on there. Just like that. Okay, and then just take one of your sprays. And again, remember, side to side or round and round till your mica's mixed, and then spray it. And when you do that, you've got just the stencil. So that is how you can do that, and then you can keep this. Now, the best thing to do with this is to mark with your permanent marker. Whoops. There you go. Hold on, I have to save this. I had to put it on something so I could use it later. Put a little mark with your permanent marker on your cutout and on your mask on the back side. So if you put a mark here and a mark here so that you know which way it goes. Not a big deal with the heart because it's either one way or the other, but like with your flowers when you've got all those petals, so that, once you open it up, figure out exactly how it goes together and then put a little mark on it so that you don't have to do that again. But that is how you can do this, so that if you don't want to have color all around what you have just stenciled, you can go ahead and get the stencil all by itself without having anything around it. So I wanted to show you that really quick. Now we'll be back in just a second to show you what we need for next week. Okay, I'm back, and today's video went really quick. But this is just so quick and easy to do. You can use your little stamp stencils as stamps. You can spray through them and use them as a stencil. Then you can turn them over and stamp them down. You can stencil through them with paint. Then you can take that and you can press it all over your paper. You can glue them to paper and use them for a textured background. You can use them with an ink pad and put it on paper that way. There's where we stenciled with the paint. So there's just lots of things that you can do with this, and you can make all different sorts of shapes. I'm going to cut out a bunch more different shapes and use them in some of my mixed media projects. So for next week, what we are going to need is from the Dollar Tree some napkins that you like. I thought these were really cute and summery, and one of these little 7-piece rolls of washi tape, and this is just so that you have a variety of different ones to use. We'll need some chipboard and just some of the products that we have made throughout the series, and some of the things that we have purchased. So this is what we'll need for next week. So that will be $2 for next week, and we will put $3 in our bank, which will give us $18.50 in our bank. So thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you try this and have fun with it, because it's a nice, cheap way to do so many different things. Thanks again for watching, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.